Good morning. This is Peter McKenzie with Rincon Property Management. I wanted to reach out to talk about how Rincon Property Management is dealing with this COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. So we have been getting contacted by our residents, the owners of the properties, our vendors, about what we're doing to mitigate and work within the confines of how we're dealing with the coronavirus. So there's local government agencies are putting new restrictions in place daily. Everybody has a certain amount of fear and uncertainty on what's going to happen, where this thing is going to go. So my goal with this video is to kind of lay out how Rincon Property Management is dealing with it and what we're doing on behalf of our stakeholders, both our clients who own the properties we manage, the residents who live in the properties, the vendors who work on the properties, and our team members who also work to manage the properties. There is so much information out there, and there's so many people doing different things on how they're reacting to it that it can get confusing on what the right thing to do is. This video is not about disseminating the latest information, whether it's stats on how many people are infected or how many people have been tested. This video is about what we're doing about it, the leadership we're showing with how we're addressing the concerns. So I've seen videos of people, in fact, our friend Kevin Paffrath from Meet Kevin just did a YouTube video of himself grocery shopping in a hazmat suit. So that's an extreme example. And then there's other examples of people who just aren't leaving their houses, not doing anything. So there are people reacting in many different ways, and that's okay, but we need to make sure that in our activities as managing our properties that we're being a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. Some of you know that I also work for the fire service, and for those of you that don't, I'm a fire captain with the City of Ventura Fire Department. When I'm not managing Rincon Property Management, I am supervising an engine company or a fire engine that goes around and mitigates emergencies in the City of Ventura. And that gives me a unique perspective when it comes to dealing with this pandemic that we're facing. So multiple times a day, we're called out to people's houses who they think or they have or may have the signs and symptoms of this virus. And we are required to protect ourselves from a personal protective equipment standard and then also just the best practices standard. And I can tell you that we are going into people's homes who potentially have this virus, and how we are protecting ourselves is quite simple. We're putting goggles on, a face mask, a gown, and gloves. And I'll put a photo up in the video so you can see exactly what that looks like. And we are interacting with people who are potentially suffering from this virus. That is what's required. And then when we come out, we take the equipment off, we wash our hands like we always do, and then we move on to the next person. So what I want to convey by sharing that is this is a pandemic. There is a real threat to people from this virus, but it is manageable. And there are things that we can do to help flatten the curve, I think is the term that everybody's using. So that's how we're handling it at the fire department. From my fire department career, we are used to working in a crisis mode. So when people call us, it's generally because they're having an emergency. It's potentially the worst day of their lives. Well, those are our regular working conditions in the fire service. And that is what uniquely qualifies me to help manage how Rincon is going to respond to this pandemic. So here's what Rincon is doing. Tactically, there's only 4 or 5 things that we're doing to help the problem and not make it worse. And those are, we're asking our partners, whether it's people, residents living in the homes, vendors, my team members, if you're sick, if you have a fever, if you have a cough, if you have those signs and symptoms that are related to the virus, we want to know about it so we don't send someone to your house who potentially is sick and is going to put you and your family at risk, or vice versa. We don't want to put our team members at risk if somebody in your family is sick. So we're asking our stakeholders to tell us if they are, so we can further take action necessary. The other thing we're doing, we're postponing all non-essential maintenance. So if it can wait till after this blows over, that's what we're gonna do. Now, emergency maintenance, we absolutely are gonna take care of those things. But we only use licensed, insured, professional vendors, so those vendors are also taking their own precautions when it comes to keeping their employees safe and the people in the houses that we are there to take care of safe. So if you're managing property on your own, make sure during this time that you are using a professional vendor. You don't want a handyman who doesn't follow the best practices or has no idea what's going on to go in there and make the problem worse. We're also empowering our people, if they are at a property and somebody appears sick, that they can just leave the property and just end the visit there for their protection. We're postponing all annual inspections for 30 days. So it's not absolutely necessary that we come into the house and do our routine inspection. That can wait. It's not an emergency. We're postponing that. The one thing that we are not stopping is getting your properties rented out. So we use a cutting edge self-showing lockbox technology that allows us to continue to show the properties while this pandemic's going on. So we are canceling in-person showings to limit that person-to-person contact, but we luckily have a system in place where we can continue to show the properties. If you are interested in how that works, or potentially you want to use that to show one of your properties if you're managing it on your own, contact me. I'm happy to share that information. And then lastly, we're closing our office. So we're not open for walk-in appointments. We will be available by appointment for certain things, but routine stuff, we are not having people come in and out of the office, just increasing the risk for everyone. Our team members are working remotely. I come into the office, we will occasionally come into office individually, but everyone is working remotely. And we're a tech-forward company where we are set up already, even prior to this pandemic, to work remotely. In fact, some of our employees are 100% remote. So that is not an issue. So we are still here to take care of everything that we would take care of without the pandemic. So that is how we're handling that. So that's what we're tactically doing to address the pandemic. But I think there's a bigger picture here. There is, how are we going to get through this crisis together? So everybody's worried, everybody's uncertain about what's going to happen. We have tenants who are having severe income issues related to businesses closing that they work at. That's a real threat to their livelihood. We have the owners of the properties who experience the same issues. So most of our clients are everyday working people who just happen to own a rental property. They have jobs that they're suffering or potentially suffering from the effects of the coronavirus as well. And then we have our company, which clearly we are in the housing business. We are going to be affected by this as well. So this is not an us versus them. Everyone is in the same boat related to this. This is not something that one group of people caused or Wall Street bankers or anything like that. This is something that is upon all of us, and it's our job to come up with a solution that works. So there are no cookie cutter solutions that I can share with you that if you can't pay your mortgage, do X, Y, Z, or if you're having trouble with the rent, this is what you do. What I'm asking is, if any of our stakeholders are having issues related to this, please reach out to us, because it's going to be through collaboration and compromise, common sense, and creativity that we come up with a solution that works for everyone. I wish that this wasn't happening to any of us, but it is. We're going to come up with a plan, we're going to act calmly, and we're going to get through it on the other side. Now, I just want to bring up a few of the most pressing issues that are facing us from a housing perspective. Couple of things. One, the governor put out an executive order on how we're going to combat this thing. In that order, he addressed evictions. So if a resident can't pay their rent, are they going to be evicted? It was a vague order. Some of the cities are implementing strict measures, some are not. It's really, honestly, it can be confusing if you're just looking at it from the outside in, but that's something that's facing us. The other thing is the County of Ventura just came out yesterday with a whole new set of restrictions. It's quarantining people over 75, closing bars, restaurants, a whole litany of things that are going to affect everybody. So it's not about sharing the most up-to-date current information, because honestly, it will be inaccurate tomorrow. It's about how we compile this information and face what's presented with us in real time. So every situation is different. No two situations are going to be identical. So what I'm going to commit to you as the owner of this company is that we will work together to come up with something that works. I want to make Rincon Property Management and myself personally available to anyone who needs help related to their housing issues. If you are not a client of Rincon Property Management, that does not matter. Feel free to reach out to our office. I am happy to share with you the steps and tips that we're using to navigate this pandemic, and you do not have to be one of our clients for us to work together in that capacity. Whether you manage a property on your own or your property is managed somewhere else, please reach out to us. It's all about pooling resources, putting our heads together, and doing the right thing for everybody that's involved. We've never experienced something like this before. It's my commitment to you that we are going to do our best job to get everybody through this and onto the other side of this pandemic, so we can all resume, normal life that we're all craving to get back to. If you find value in this information, or you want to make sure you get our updates that are going to be coming in the near future, please subscribe to our YouTube page. It's how we're going to disseminate this type of information. That is the extent of the message today. I want to say thank you for listening, and please stay safe and do what you can to help us get through this pandemic and get our life back to normal, because that's really what everybody wants, is to go back to some sense of normalcy. And if we all work together and collaboratively solve the issues that are presented, we'll be back to normal quicker. So thank you, and stay safe.